What's going on, guys? Tower number 9 here, and today we're going to talk about Nala Se. This is the next in my Force 5 series, where I've been playing at least 5 games with every leader from Twilight of the Republic, and this one was really interesting. So, Nala Se, Clone Engineer, is a Vigilance Villainy leader. On her leader side, she says ignore the aspect penalty on clone units you play, and on her leader unit side, she has the same passive, ignore the aspect penalty on clone units you play, but additionally, each friendly clone unit gains, when defeated, heal 2 damage from your base. She is also a 1/7 and she deploys on only 4 resources. So this allows you to play out of aspect clones and build your deck around having access to all the clone cards. She has very fast deployment at 4 resources, but the stats of 1/7 are kind of awkward. It's good if you have to pick off Greedo or knock shields off something, but usually 1 power is not really enough. She can provide healing when clones are defeated, which is a little interesting because it encourages you to use her first ability to have the clones out there. But it only works while she's actually on the field. But on the other hand, because her HP is so high, the opponent is not likely going to commit a bunch of attack to killing her necessarily. So it could potentially generate some substantial extra value. She has the Kaminoan trait, which is not actually relevant right now, and she is not Republic. So she does not work with some of the Republic synergy cards. You can still put them in your deck and play them with all the clones that you may be playing, but they don't work on Nala Se herself. Okay, now, one of the things that I was first thinking when I looked at Nala Se was, oh, dude, this is going to be so good. You can run blue, green, villain control with energy conversion lab wrecker, and you can play tech. It's going to be so good. But as I was looking into it more and trying to build the deck, I was noticing that this seems relevantly like not what you want to be doing. So, Wrecker's ability here, when played, you may defeat a friendly resource. If you do, deal 5 damage to a ground unit. The problem with this in the villain blue-green control build is that that deck wants to be getting to expensive endgame cards. And if you're defeating your own resources, you're not necessarily going to be able to do that. And I had noticed this when deck building, and then later I heard Thork talk about this as well, I believe, in a tier list video. And I think it's a real problem because if you're trying to build towards this Avenger that costs 9, you really don't want to be defeating a resource, especially when there's stuff like double yellow Han that's potentially going to steal a resource with the Tech DJ combo or similar. It's not, I think, where you want to be, but I do think you want to run Wrecker. I just don't think you necessarily want to run the big stuff. I'm not sure, but this ended up being a very different deck than I was first thinking when I was looking at this leader. I don't know if it's actually good. It worked actually much better than I was expecting and testing, to be honest with you, but it might be a little bit based on surprise value. Let's take a look at the build. So this is the Force 5 Nala Se deck. I have not specified a full sideboard for this. And we have a lot of nice cheap clones. The clone Deserter is one that I think might be overlooked by some because it's actually not from Twilight of the Republic. It is from Shadows of the Galaxy, but it does have the clone trait, so it works with Nala Se's ability. Clone Deserter is very good. We have a lot of the cheap one-cost clones with the 3 clone Deserters, 3 Soldier of the 501st, and 3 332nd Stalwarts. We got 3 Echoes, 3 Republic Tactical Officers. They don't work with Nala Se, but they work with all these other clones. We do have General Grievous in there for some efficient stats. We have Hu Yang, buff an early unit. Batch Brothers to give us some more clones. That's potentially 4 healing off of 1 card, in addition to whatever you get with their stats. We do have some removal, so we got Power of the Dark Side, Take Down, Fell the Dragon. We have the Dark Saber, which is actually to tool up Nala Se herself. We have Heavy, who's really good in this build, Overwhelming Barrage, the Devastating Gunship, and Wrecker. So this build is very weak in space, but the idea is basically to try and overwhelm them on the ground, and it actually ends up being pretty aggro. And you're aggro, but you do have some removal elements to kind of cover your units if need be. Power of the Dark Side, especially good against like a big Sentinel that would otherwise be a problem. Perilous Position, giving you some options if the opponent does bring out Lurking TIE Phantom or other issues in the space arena, as well as just generally being a good card. And that Takedown and Fell the Dragon. Arguably, Fell the Dragon might go entirely into the sideboard for this because ideally when you're playing this deck, your opponent doesn't get there. But I had 2 in the main deck at least for this testing. So what's the deal with this? Basically, it's secretly an aggro deck. My reasoning was people are going to look at Nala Se and be like, oh, okay, blue green villain control, and they're going to be thinking that you're going to be playing a slower game plan, but that's not what you're doing. You have a lot of these cheap and aggressive clones. You have the Darksaber to throw onto Nala Se, at which point she becomes a 5/10, which is kind of a crazy stat line, really difficult for opponents to remove. And you do have your removal of your own to deal with big problems. You have really good energy conversion lab plays with both heavy and wrecker. There isn't really an endgame other than wrecker, but that's actually kind of an upside because it means you can destroy resources as much as you want when you are using wrecker's ability. You don't have to worry about, oh, is removing this resource going to mean that I can't play the Avenger in time or I can't get to Super Laser Blast? It doesn't matter. You don't have those cards in your deck. You're playing aggressively. So that is the secret aggro deck here with Nala Se. And why am I skeptical of this? Like, so this was working for me. I like it, but I wouldn't want to take this to a tournament. And the reason for that is, in general, I don't think you should try to rely on tricks. Um, Advantages from surprise are a lot worse in tournament play for multiple reasons. First up, if you're in a tournament, you're going to be playing best of threes. If you play something that's very surprising in a casual game and the opponent hasn't seen it before and you win the game and that's it, that can be quite strong. But if you play something that takes the opponent by surprise and you win game one and then they adapt and you're playing something that might end up being weaker once the opponent knows what they're doing, like I don't think this is a better aggro deck than a Sabine deck. So yeah, you might catch the opponent out or like get them to misplay or resource wrong or whatever early, but once they adapt to you, I think they're going to be in a better spot than if you run something that is overall stronger. Um, Similarly, in tournaments, people might scout you. Scouting is, people might be looking around the tables after they finish their game and seeing what people are doing, or they might talk to other players or their friends who are at the event and learn more about some of the other decks. And when you get to the top cut, that's even more likely because people will see you playing on the top tables. Open deck lists, which some events have, make this worse as well because the opponent can look at your deck list and be like, oh, he has the Darksaber. And additionally, this last reason here is maybe a bit of a subtler point, but I think that if you do a lot of gameplay that relies on tricks and surprises, this is not necessarily the best long-term plan for your growth as a player, because ideally you want to be the kind of player who can, play very well and win even when the opponent knows what they're going to do. Even when the opponent is aware of what your deck is or has played the matchup a bunch and so on. And as a result of that, I generally wouldn't recommend playing trick-based things in, I wouldn't take this to a PQ. Would I take this to a casual 3 or 4 round Swiss tournament at some local store for a weekly play kit? Yeah, sure, why not? But for serious competitive play, I don't like the approach that relies on tricks. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the way that you want to evolve as a player. But I'd be curious, what do you guys think? Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think this is really good. I know it's a bit of a different direction. I have seen at least one other person kind of messing around with some of these ideas for Nala Se, and I'd be curious to know what you guys think. So yeah, that is the Force 5 Nala Se deck. Now, one other quick announcement that I want to give is that I am going to have 2 preview cards from Fantasy Flight Games for the not Twilight of the Republic, for the Jump to Lightspeed set. And I believe those are going to be going up next week. And I will have more info on that soon, so stay tuned for a card preview on this channel. And additionally, I don't have Facecam on for this video, and part of the reason for that is that I am changing some elements of my setup and will hopefully have a new and improved setup with lighting and background and so on. It's not ready yet at this time, but I'm hoping that there's going to be stuff that will overall give some nicer image quality to some of the videos. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks to y'all for watching. We will be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I am going to try and get all the Force 5 videos out before Jump to Lightspeed comes out, and I am also going to start doing some more of the old card YouTube short reviews for the new things that are coming out of Jump to Lightspeed. I think it's a really exciting set, and I'll have more to say on that in the future. But for now, that's going to do it. Thanks again for watching, and we will be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.